Hi everyone, Sandy Sidhu here. Welcome to another episode of The Unstoppable Entrepreneur. This week I have with me Jamila Payne from Stylish Life, who's going to share with us her entrepreneurial journey and how she got started with helping women create the businesses that they love. So welcome, Jamila.
Thank you, Sandy. I'm excited to be talking with you today.
So why don't we just jump right in and you start tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm an author and entrepreneur, and I'm super passionate about women's empowerment specifically. So I started my entrepreneurial journey very young. My first business was at 10 years old, and that was a cleaning business, cleaning up hair in salons, and then I just never looked back from there. And by the time I graduated high school, I had run a successful jewelry business that was doing $500 a week. And then after college, I started a mail order retail business selling women's apparel and accessories called Mila by Mail, which did very, very well. It was one of the first or early online retail businesses focused on women's apparel. We sold both independent designers and well-known brands like BCBG, Rebecca Taylor, French Connection. And so I've spent the last several years after running Mila by Mail, which I did for 8 years. And we would put on these huge shopping events that had over 750 women attend. And I was getting a lot of press in my business. And so different organizations would come to me and say, how in the world do you get 750 women to show up to an event on a shoestring marketing budget? So before I knew it, I was speaking to lots of organizations, helping other entrepreneurs to start and grow their businesses. And I just fell in love with it. I really fell in love with supporting entrepreneurs. And I was lucky that the entrepreneurs connected with me. One, because I was in the field. I was doing it. So I wasn't theorizing about entrepreneurship or coming from an academic perspective, but I was giving the real nuts and bolts of what do you do when your bank account is almost on E and you need to pay your bills at the end of the month? What's the marketing strategy for that? And so I was able to really connect with a lot of entrepreneurs and support them and help them to grow their business. And that's just the work that I'm continuing to do today.
Wow, that's really cool. I mean, just the fact that you've been an entrepreneur since you were a kid and it's a lifelong journey for you. Why don't we dive in a little bit to the part where you said that you started speaking to a lot of different organizations and eventually started helping women. What are some of the key themes that you see? What is reoccurring when you talk to entrepreneurs? They're burning questions.
There's so many things. The first thing that I tend to come across, particularly with women entrepreneurs, is around confidence. Feeling that they are worthy and capable of being able to start their businesses. In some cases, they're really nervous based on some past experience. They could be nervous based on, naysayers that are amongst people that they know and love, family members, girlfriends. And then there's also sometimes pushback with your significant other who's saying, hey, I'm not sure this business thing is a good idea. It may be more important to focus on our kids right now. And so women have a lot of challenges because they play so many different roles in their lives. Another thing is the money piece. How do I actually figure out how to start a business if I don't have a lot of savings or a background where I've been given, or have access to a lot of money in order to get started. So I've really worked with entrepreneurs to figure out how to start from where they are and different strategies that they can use to actually test their idea without needing to have a significant amount of startup capital.
Mm-hmm. Your last point, not having to have a lot of money to invest to start your business, since you've been in the running businesses for many years, do you find that the time that we're in right now, it's easier than ever to test those ideas and validate because a lot of women are starting businesses that maybe there's less startup costs because they're using, let's say, technology. You know, they're starting a blog or they're offering their services online. What's your take on that?
Sandy, I think that's an excellent point. I think now is an amazing time to start a business for several reasons. One is because there's an open job market, there's so many needs that are out there. And so I almost, I really encourage people to not necessarily get caught up in, a specific idea, but get caught up in a specific need. So real successful businesses right now are able to really identify what the burning pains are for different groups of people and then find solutions to resolve that burning pain. And so if you can just get into a mindset of figuring out how can I resolve, this problem or that problem, it's just an open marketplace. People are faced with so many different challenges right now. I mean, that you can totally grow an amazing business. The other big opportunity right now is there's an abundance of talent because so many people, unfortunately, have been laid off or downsized or are seeking work and not able to find what they're looking for. There is an abundance of amazing people that entrepreneurs may not otherwise have readily available access to. And so you can get an amazing business advisor, or a partner that can come on in your business that was probably, a past VP of some major company who has a crazy amount of knowledge and can really help you to grow the business. So I think right now is an awesome time. And even my retail business that I started many years ago, I started right after September 11th. And so that was not what people would consider an ideal time to start a business. But the reality is if you can build a business in a recession, you will soar when times when things are good. So now is a really amazing time to get started and grow a business.
So, I mean, there's a lot of valuable information you just shared. Going back to that burning, need and validation, because that's something I like, an approach I like to take as well. And that, too often we put all these barriers between us and earning those first dollars because we think, okay, we need to put a website in place, get business cards, build all this infrastructure, and then kind of like wait for the customers to come and, optimize our site. But the opposite being like, let's go out there and talk to people. What are some of the ways that someone who's not completely confident yet can get out there and start identifying needs?
It's really about talking to people. And so there's so many great networking events that are happening. And even right now, it's the season of the holiday party. So you can get out to great holiday parties and just really be like a fly on the wall. I mean, engage in conversations, but I would spend more time asking questions than just talking about yourself or specifically what you're doing. But I would ask really powerful questions to find out what challenges people are facing, what are some things they're struggling with on a day-to-day basis, and ask them, well, if this happened, would that make that issue better for you? So just getting in a mode of like asking valuable questions can really help you to identify needs, because what happens is people don't always realize how much something is bothering them. We as humans figure out ways to adjust for problems in our lives. But if a person develops a solution, I mean, think about all the things like, the new technologies and things that are popping up. If you look at something like Pinterest. So I've been doing, pin boards forever, but guess what my pin board was? It was a Microsoft Word document. And so I'd be on the web and I find all these amazing pictures of things that I love. And I name the Word document, hairstyles or mood board. And I just have a bunch of Word documents in a file. And that was my Pinterest. But being able to tune in and have great conversations to understand what people's needs are can really help entrepreneurs to grow. Like there's, people are often afraid of giving up or sharing their ideas, but there's an abundance of ideas. There's abundance of needs. And so the people that are able to tap into them will be the most successful.
And going back to something you mentioned earlier about confidence, do you also see with the women that you work that often there's this idea that they have to do it all, that they're not confident in like letting go, or it's like, I don't have enough money yet, so I can't hire a VA? Is that something that you've seen where we try to do it all and it kind of stifles our growth?
Definitely. A lot of women do, especially achievers, women that are high achievers. They really, they want things to be perfect. They want things to be great. And so it can be a challenge to let go of some of the tasks that are associated with the business because you feel like, oh, no one can do it better than I can. And the businesses that are able to bring on the appropriate team members the owners can spend their time and effort on the most valuable task for the business, and then start having other people do tasks that are important, but not necessarily tasks that are best use of their time. So I would like to say, hire yourself for the $100 an hour jobs and outsource those $10 an hour jobs. So you could have an amazing local assistant or a VA, depending on what works better for you, that can be doing some of the things like setting up your tweets for the week. You create them, you hand them over, they can help you get them set up, or following up with customers. I mean, that's a really important part of the business. You can't keep business coming in if you're not properly servicing the customers. Having someone that can be on top of making sure things are getting responded to from a customer perspective is important. And those are really important jobs, but the hourly wage for those jobs is not the same as finding a new customer or building a partnership, which are, higher skill, higher level jobs that the owners really need to be spending more of their time on.
And when would be the ideal time to bring on that extra person? I mean, say we're talking to people who are early stage entrepreneurs, let's say in that first year of their business. Is it in the beginning when you're just figuring things out, or is it once further along? What would you say?
Sandy, I would say right away. As soon as possible is really important to get a person on the team. Now, that might sound a little bit oh my gosh, I can't afford to bring someone on. But it's not about the money, it's about the practice. It's about building that muscle of having a team member, being able to delegate the appropriate tasks, and the skills of motivating and inspiring a team as a business owner. So in the early stages, it's great to work with interns. So local colleges or universities, they have great intern programs. In my business, I live in a college, what we call a college farm. So we have, all these great universities and colleges around. The Career Services Department, you can just call them right up, and they will post a job description on your behalf. So getting an intern ASAP is a great way to start out the business. And you leverage that intern by having them complete specific tasks, but then also build procedure lists for the tasks that they're doing, so that as you're growing the business, or as an intern might transition out, maybe they're just with you for 3 months or 6 months, you already then have almost like an operations manual of the different tasks that the intern used to do that they can hand over to the next person. Mm-hmm. As you grow the business and bring on paid people, it just becomes more and more easy.
So what I'm getting is that really start establishing those systems from day one, so that you can kind of remove yourself from those things that are taking up your time, that aren't as valuable as going and finding new business and joint ventures.
Exactly.
Okay. And one thing that I've seen working with different entrepreneurs, women especially, is also sort of a technology, sort of not a barrier, but an overwhelm, that they're not necessarily, going back to the confidence, that they're not always confident with the various aspects. How big of a role like does technology play in your business and your day to day?
I'm a little bit of a tech geek, I have to admit. Technology plays a major role. And I think even if you're not a tech geek, it's important to be able to understand the basics of technology and particularly how you can use it to leverage your business. So there's all sorts of cool things that every business can and should be using from a technological perspective. For example, if you look at some like cloud software, things like SlideShare, for example, is a great software where you can create these online slideshows. Well, if you're in a business where you're doing anything education or training related, or even if you're not, let's just talk about your team members. If you're setting up those policies and procedures in your company, you can use a software like SlideShare to have like almost like a how-to manual created and posted on that site. And then these kinds of technology softwares are also search engines because people are automatically going there and looking for resources. And let's say you're a real estate person or a nutritionist or some kind of consultant, you can have valuable information in these places where people are searching for information and you can organically find customers. Another great resource is contact management systems. Personally, I use Aweber to be able to, send out email blasts, maintain a newsletter, track who's opening and reading information that I'm sending out. These are crucial resources for any business to be able to see if the marketing strategies that they're using in customer outreach programs are actually working. So even if you're not sort of a tech lover, there's a lot of sort of great, easy to use stuff that's really important for every business to be able to make an impact with their clients.
Well, as a fellow techie, I absolutely agree. I think what I also see is that it's opened the doors to all kinds of businesses. I mean, I'm sure because you travel between two locations, you probably do a lot of things with Skype and you're on the go. So even from a business, like starting the business point of view, you can create your website, add a PayPal button, and offer coaching remotely to anyone, anywhere in the world. So it's just opened up all these possibilities to people. So I think embracing it only enhances your opportunities.
Yeah, the thing I love about technology right now is it's like the great equalizer for small businesses because, we're able to have such a larger presence, not just national now, but global because of all the technology that has become available. So I'm just excited about what the future holds, particularly for small businesses and how we can, increase our reach in a major way because of so much awesome technology.
So I imagine as an entrepreneur, you never do stop learning, even though you've been doing it from a young age. What are some of the resources that you turn to or like some of the blogs that you read? I'd be curious to kind of get inside your head.
Well, you're right. I'm a knowledge junkie. So I love learning, but even more importantly, I love learning and then trying to take what I learned immediately and putting it into action. And I find that that's the way that I'm able to really retain something and leverage that information in my business. So let's see, in terms of resources, I love podcasts. So I listen to Michael Hyatt's podcast, he does a podcast all about intentional leadership. And he's a former CEO of Thomas Nelson Publishing. He just wrote a book called Platform, which I also read, which is an amazing book. And the subtitle is like Get Noticed in a Noisy World. So it's great for anyone who's looking to grow an audience or build a platform of their own. I'm also a big fan of Pat Flynn, who does Smart Passive Income. And he's just like an amazing, like charismatic guy that really talks about building online business and shares, great information about himself and what he's doing and even his family. Let's see. I also listen to Internet Business Mastery with Jason and Jeremy. That's another podcast that I frequent. And just in the past couple of days, I downloaded the Eventual Millionaire, and I've heard a couple of episodes of that. So excited to dive in more to that podcast. In terms of books, let's see, what have I read lately? Right now, I'm reading a really good book called Jesus CEO, which talks about leadership and business, but from a Christian perspective. So it's like a morning read for me. I have a little bit of devotional time in the morning, so I like reading that book. It ties it back to verses, and then I can, sort of refer, to the Bible around some of those things. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm like an avid, reader, learner, podcaster. I've also been doing a lot of YouTube videos lately around Tony Robbins stuff. So I've been enjoying getting into what he's doing.
Well, I think what you said there was really key. It's not, you can be like an information junkie, but the fact that you're also taking time to practice, like filter and practice, because it's one thing to consume, but never actually do anything with it, which I see a lot of people kind of get stuck in. It's like, okay, I'm going to wait for it to be perfect, or, one more thing, and then it's just like you're on that information treadmill or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's true, and it can be overwhelming. The other thing I try to do is be timely with the information. So I specifically listen to things when I'm looking to learn. So let's say, right now, I've been thinking about new and creative marketing strategies. And so I'm spending a lot of time listening to things around, internet marketing, internet business, because those are things that I can implement right now. So I would caution people to be very careful about just taking in a lot of information, but it's not really timely. So let's say if you're listening to a podcast or reading a book about how to write a book, but you don't actually plan to write a book for another year or two, you're not going to necessarily remember everything that you learned, and it can get to feel overwhelming because you're not able to implement anything. So it's almost a little self-defeating to get ahead of yourself on information. So I say, try to do like just-in-time learning.
Awesome. So what's next for you?
What's next for me? So I'm really planning some exciting things for 2013. We're going to be doing a tour, a bit of a tour, U.S. tour, hosting some large scale events for women entrepreneurs. So I'm seeking some super amazing women entrepreneurs to participate in that. So so that people can check out my website, JamilaPayne.com, in order to get updates on that as that's coming. I also didn't mention that a few years ago I founded an organization called the National Association of Sustainable Fashion Designers, which is based in New York City, and we'll be holding the first ever Sustainable Fashion Summit in 2013. So I'm looking forward to that. And a few years ago, in 2010, I wrote a book called From Pain to Power, Lessons to Achieve Happiness and Success from the Life of an Entrepreneur. So I've been working on another book, but this book will be an ebook. So I will be launching that next year. And there'll also be an ebook I just finished up that'll be popping up on my website before the end of the month. And that one is called Your Big Year. It's a sort of a manifesto on how to have the biggest year of your life.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you've got a lot on your plate and really a lot of exciting things coming up in 2013. I'll be sure to link everything up in the notes so that people can find you and connect with you and reach out to you if they feel that they're interested in your conference. Thank you so much for taking this time today. You shared a lot of valuable insight, and I'm sure a lot of people are listening to this and just ready to go and take action.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you so much for having me. It was great talking to you.
My pleasure. Have you heard? Thrive Hive is here, the community for next generation entrepreneurial women. Connect, collaborate, and learn from other women entrepreneurs. Visit www.sidekickpm.com/thrivehive and join today.